we have a little bit of Spider-Man No Way Home news. Uh, Nothing crazy, but it's interesting. It's an interesting coincidence.
Hmm.
Uh, so Willem Dafoe was in an interview with Collider. Collider Connected. It's a video show that Collider does. He will not comment on his most recent projects, and obviously no, he's been heavily rumored for Spider-Man No Way Home, even as much to say he's been rumored to be the main villain in Spider-Man No Way Home. Uh, but he's not confirmed like Alfred Molina and Jamie Foxx are.
Hmm.
So, I mean, man, he's such a great actor. He's if you look at Willem Dafoe's career from uh from his Hollywood career to his independent movie career, he just did that movie The Lighthouse. Like he's done a lot of
Oh,
different things.
fucking hell.
His
Um,
filmography is long.
Him and The Lighthouse is probably one of the most mind-bending movies
I
I've
have
seen
not
to this
seen The
date.
Lighthouse. I've heard
It's
really good
like
things about it.
if I'm not mistaken, The Lighthouse is based off of like a true story of like a disappearance of a certain group of people in a lighthouse. If I'm not mistaken, if I'm wrong, tell me. But yeah, just that entire movie is so mind-boggling. And Willem Dafoe's character in that movie, it really fucks you up. So like I'm not saying I'm surprised by Willem Dafoe's acting chops, but like he really like put it to display with
Yeah,
with that movie. And
he's a great actor, man.
also
I've
with like
always liked him.
him as like the Green Goblin, it was like, golly, he did crazy
Yeah,
really well. You could
yeah,
see his spiral into madness pretty much.
yeah,
And I mean, that's why everyone wanted him as the Joker. Everybody
yeah,
wants him as the Joker. He did him perfect, but
yeah.
it is what it is. I would love to see, like, I feel like I may look up later on interviews of him because obviously people had to ask him, like, has the Joker ever been like a a uh
Has that ever
a
been on the
spot?
table?
Yeah, I think because it definitely should with fan cast and all that, and you see how he's been acting in like Spider-Man and then the town or like the
Yeah,
lighthouse. Yeah,
yeah.
he has the capability of doing crazy really well.
Well, and it's
I
funny
wanna
because
I was gonna
he's
say like I want to see more crazy.
yes,
If he's in No Way Home, I want to see more crazy,
yeah.
more of it.
Well, and it's funny because he actually said in the interview, because he was asked, I forget the gentleman's name who was interviewing him, but he was asked, like, do you choose to do independent films as well as Hollywood films, or like, do you just, how do you decide like what film you do next? And Willem Dafoe was kind of like, if it's a good story, I do it, and
Hmm.
that's kind of like that's kind of the guy he is. Like, I feel like if it's a good story, and if it's a story that he believes in, he's going to go to it, and he is going to gravitate to do that role.
Yeah,
And I mean, again, he knocks it out of the park with almost every single role. I mean, name a bad Willem Dafoe role. You
art.
can't because they're all
Yeah.
great.
I want to
Um,
see the one with him playing as Vincent Van Gogh. That seems
mm,
really interesting.
I really wanted to see that when it came out, and I honestly, I kind of forgot about that movie until you just
Hmm.
said it, but I did want to see that really bad. But in this interview, he talked his acting career, some of his past roles. He was asked what was the last role he remembers actually auditioning for, and he said that he remembered auditioning for Spider-Man. Uh,
It's
and
fucking great. It's the fact that he's so like powerful as of an actor that
he
he can
doesn't even
offer
audition anymore.
he doesn't audition anymore.
Um, and he said that he loved that role of playing Norman Osborn because he said he felt like there was a real risk involved in superhero movies at that time
It
because
really
you
was
have to think Spider-Man came out in what 2000, was it 2001 or 2002? I think it was 2002.
2002.
Yeah. Uh there was a risk involved because superhero movies weren't the norm. There was no DCEU, there was no MCU, there was that that didn't exist. There really, I mean,
It's like the same thing as like with the if you saw like a well-known movie actor going into TV at the time, you knew that
yeah,
his career was pretty much going down the shitter. So like if you were to seen these actors like doing movies, superhero movies, like take for instance, Blade with
yep,
I forgot his name, but you could tell like if you were end up doing a superhero movie, like your career was like pretty low to be honest. But now people are taking chances because look at Jake Gyllenhaal. He was pretty
yeah,
much a Sundance indie film actor. Pretty much,
hmm
he did some Hollywood hitters, but for us to think that he was going to do that, for us to think that he may have been in the MCU was kind of off the out of the question. And
right,
he said it in an interview. He said the difference between an indie film and a legitimate like cinematic universe like Marvel, like it's substantial. I remember he said in an interview, you remember the scene in Far From Home whenever he was like talking about like the whole multiverse thing and the elementals?
yeah.
He was saying I was low key like weirded out because like they said they were like because he was like just the director was like just look around and point at stuff. Don't worry, in the movie it'll be there. So he was like they're elementals. They come from a different universe. They killed my family. Like he really didn't know what the hell
That's
to
funny.
do.
And then Marvel and Disney were like, roll with it, multiverse, scratch everything we had planned, multiverse.
Yeah, yeah.
Roll with it.
So like trust me, like people those are the people that do indie films, and if they enter the like the cinematic universe, it's an entirely different culture. And I
Yeah.
can't wait to hear Willem Dafoe's if he's in it. I can't wait to hear Willem Dafoe's interview in regards of how different it is from indie to like
Yeah.
actual cinematic, because it's a huge difference, a
Well,
major
it's
difference.
funny that Jake Gyllenhaal says that because, it's funny because back then, Willem Dafoe said it was such a risk taking that role because superhero movies were kind of not really the norm. And then Spider-Man 2000, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, the original, had such a big I mean, it was dare I say it was the first big superhero movie. It was
It's
that
gonna be
movie
the
was a big deal, and Willem Dafoe talked about the fact that he took that role because it was a beautiful script, and like still to this day it's like one of his favorite projects, and he thought that that movie was such a beautiful story, and it
Mhm,
really is. Like, I mean, I Tom Holland is great, he really is, but that first Sam Raimi Spider-Man film is remarkable.
mhm.
It really is.
Both have their place
Right.
and in the Hollywood world, because Tom Holland's Spider-Man is pretty much like it's just adding to the story
Mm-hmm.
of what Kevin Feige wants to do. The Sam Raimi was just Sam Raimi pretty much saying I want to tell a story of Spider-Man. So it's primarily focused on him and like what his journey is. And
Yeah.
there's definitely like a different of weight as compared to how the story should progress.
Mm-hmm.
Because honestly, I'll say this: Tom Holland's Spider-Man, at its core, is pretty much eye candy, if that makes sense. To a certain degree, it's like we just love seeing him now. We just love
I
seeing
yeah,
Spider-Man. It
I
adds,
see what you
but
mean.
but the fact is like his storyline is great, but it's only a part of the greater vision that Kevin Feige has as compared to
Right.
Sam Raimi. Whereas like I love the story of Spider-Man. I want to tell it in my vision,
Right.
which is why you get such an impactful relationship between Norman Osborn and Spider-Man.
Yeah. So he was also asked if he had seen Zack Snyder's Justice League, which of course he plays Nuidis, which is I believe I'm saying that right. I could be wrong. Who's an Atlantean, and he said no because he's been working and it's hard for him to watch other movies while he's working. Which good character actor, he gets really invested in his roles. Makes sense. Now, the interesting part of this interview with Collider comes when he is asked, I'm curious, what have you been filming recently and what are you going to be doing this year, if you don't mind me saying? To which Willem Dafoe replied that, he just finished a film where he is the only actor. I forget the name of it, which is kind of interesting. That's an interesting plot.
Hmm.
But he also said, and I quote, "The other things that I've been doing lately, I prefer to wait until we're ready for them to come out." This is a Spider-Man No Way Home, but not really. Home update, but not really. Excuse me,
Hmm.
because it's like, is he talking about Spider-Man No Way Home? What would be that under wraps that he couldn't? What else would be that under wraps that he couldn't say?
Yeah,
You
because
know,
most like indie films, like they want you to know about this
right?
movie coming out.
Because it's not a big Hollywood production. They have to kind of get the word out in order for you to see it. But he was kind, and his body language, he was kind of like, I don't know. He was like, I don't really. I'm not gonna say. So
I love
I
how the
kind of feel like he's
fear
talking about Spider-Man.
the fear of Kevin Feige just in
I know.
indoctrinates anyone that just enters in because they're
It's
so
like
new to it.
when somebody of the Marvel cast or of the Marvel world is doing an interview, I feel
Hmm.
like they're in the middle of doing the interview and they glance out the window and Kevin Feige is like,
It's like have you seen Happy Gilmore?
yeah,
Whenever he was like taking the test and his girlfriend was sitting out there with the window at the window with the signs like, "Do you want me to
yep,
kill them?" It's like
yeah,
that. I'm pretty sure. Like
yeah.
it's pretty bad. But again, I'm glad Willem Dafoe is like. There's rumors of him entering the MCU. I hope he is. And from the looks of it from that interview, it sounds like he is because he sounds like he has a gun pointed to his head
Yeah.
just a little bit.
How would you like to see him as like the main villain in No Way Home against all three Spider-Men? Or at least the one pulling the strings. Obviously there's going to be a slew of different villains. But
Maybe
would you like to see
because
him the one pulling the strings?
you remember the leak plot that we read like in one of our
Yeah,
other
yeah.
like yeah, that one was kind of interesting. It seems a little too far fetched in my eyes, but I would like to see him be a heavy villain within this cinematic version of Spider-Man.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a leak plot. We didn't do a video on it and we didn't talk about it on the movie news show just because I I'm leery to do videos on these things or episodes on these things because we can't confirm it. If we
No.
had sources that were like, "Hey, this is happening. Like this is true." I'd be okay with putting our name out there and putting this out there. But I, you know, I don't want to spoil the movie for anybody. I kind of don't want the movie spoiled for me. So
Exactly.
I don't really. I mean, like, I kind of feel like you said, it was far fetched, but there was a leaked, quote unquote, leaked plot, uh, or leaked script that had Willem Dafoe, uh, as the main villain as Norman Osborn, and he was kind of the one
Like he
bridging the gaps
basically
between all these different multiverses, and
like he
I don't know.
becomes the Norman Osborn of the cinematic universe.
Yeah,
Basically, it was kind of like that, and I was like, I don't know how I feel about that yet,
yeah,
because I would like to see a different person play Norman Osborn, obviously, but at the same time, Willem Dafoe did a great job with it.
he did. He did a really, really great job.
Mm.
So I don't know. I thought that was kind of interesting. Baby Spider-Man No Way Home update. Not really, not quite a whole, real update. Just something that's kind of keep it in the back of your mind. Thought it was kind of
Hmm.
interesting.